All right. Just going to check on the audio quick, make sure everything's working, and then we'll get started here. One thing I wanted to check. Let's see. Is the audio working? Okay, testing. Okay, testing. All right, I think we're good. Hey, everyone. All right, I think we're good. Ryan from Ebike Escape, and as you can see here, we have another live stream unboxing. This is the Snapcycle S1 electric bike. It is a folding electric bike, and Snapcycle is a new company to me, and they reached out, wanted me to do a review, and we will eventually have our full review live once the weather starts cooperating a little bit. And I like to do live unboxings because it's the easiest way for me to answer any audience questions, and I have to assemble it anyway, so why not do it live and maybe have some people in the comments chat. Happy to answer any questions that you have. Ones I can answer about this electric bike or any other electric bikes that I've reviewed, or any other electric bikes even that I haven't reviewed. There will be a link in the description to this bike. If you do make a purchase through that link, it helps support the channel. So thanks in advance for your support. In the description, also links to our electric bike accessories list, top e-bike brands page, and finally our electric bike discounts code page, where I track all the deals on the electric bike brands that I follow. So if you're in the market for an electric bike, always good to check there. And some of those links are affiliate links as well. So appreciate your support, and if you can use those links, it really helps me out. All right, so this is the Snapcycle S1. It's currently priced at $14.99. Looks like it's actually in stock, and it was kind of interesting because I recently did a unboxing of a folding e-bike, and that box was quite a bit shorter than this one because the bike actually shipped folding. Now, a lot of times with these folding electric bikes, they're actually quite a bit easier to assemble. Now, this one is not folded, as we'll see here in just a second. So just interesting differences in shipping. I kind of assume that if they ship it folded, it's maybe a little bit cheaper for them to ship, but I'm not an expert in shipping. So quite a long box. It has some damage on the other side, so hopefully everything arrived in good condition. Now, in order to open this electric bike up, I am going to cut open the bike, or cut open the box rather. This is not something I necessarily recommend you do, because if you do have issues with whatever electric bike that you're purchasing, it's always good to have the box in case you need to ship it back. Not a very common thing in my experience, but it does happen. So, but I'm going to go ahead and cut this bike open. Another note, I am not a bike mechanic, so this is not a tutorial. Now, they sell a wide variety of other, I think they sell some fat tire e-bikes as well. This is kind of the one they were looking to have me review, and I think it looks, it passed my initial test, and from my discussions a little bit via email with the company, they seem like a reputable brand. Obviously, if you want to do your own research and see maybe if you can see if there's reviews from other people who purchase whatever, any electric bike brand that you decide to purchase from. Packaging looks pretty good here. Don't want the bike to come out. All right, so here's a good look at how this bike comes packaged. Kind of good to see more cardboard being used as opposed to, a lot of bubble wrap and stuff, or, spray foam and things like that. Just a little bit more environmentally friendly, I would imagine. So just take these pieces out. They do have like a wheel chock, I guess, there. Helps keep the bike centered. And not seeing anything so far as damage. And actually, I think I can, what's really cool, again, well, maybe I'll take this box first. But what's cool is because the front wheel is already on, as you can see here, I can put the kickstand up. So let's go ahead and slide the bike out just so I don't have to stand here. All right, look at that. That's pretty easy. So I think this will be a short video. So if you have any questions, make sure you get them in. Patrice says hi. Hi, Patrice. Thanks for joining me. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box over there. Happy to answer anything I can. Again, this is the Snapcycle S1 folding fat tire electric bike. And there's a link in the description if you are looking. I want to check out more information. Now, these folding bikes are pretty popular these days. And one of the things that I really like about them is you can take them with you if you're going to go to some trails without necessarily having a bike rack. Obviously, that can add some significant expense. And so what I've done in some of my other videos, I've shown it, is you can fold up these bikes, and a lot of times you can fit them in like a big Christmas tree tote or just a giant storage tote. And that's a great way to travel with these e-bikes. I would imagine anyone with an SUV, no problem. Smaller car, you definitely want to check. All right, we do have the charger here. There's a charger I've seen before. A lot of companies share these chargers, which makes sense because a little cheaper for them to put on the bike. This is actually, I'm pretty sure the last charger I saw like this was not a 3-amp charger, but this one was a 3-amp charger. So charge up your battery a little bit faster on this bike. Set that off to the side. If you are assembling this when like inside, like I am, one thing you can do is as soon as you get the bike out, you can charge up the battery. It does come with a hex key here, a little multi-tool, I guess. Very common. Again, I've seen these included before. Nothing special, but gets the job done. And they do, this is kind of interesting, they do include a Class 3 sticker. Not something I've seen very often. So I'm going to assume with the Class 3 sticker, we'll be able to get this up to 28 miles per hour. Of course, I will definitely put it to the test. With a lot of the bikes that I review, I try, if they advertise a bike that can go, over 20 miles per hour, I do like to put it to the test. But generally, for instance, if it's a Class 2 electric bike, unless they're, I don't think it's necessary to kind of override it in a lot of cases because the bikes are being sold as Class 2. So depends on the bike. If it's a moped style e-bike, sometimes I'll do it a little bit differently, but just something to be aware of. Always be aware of your local laws and regulations. All right. We do have interesting. Have some pedals here. Let's see, Lamar. Great content. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Thanks for joining me this evening. Appreciate the kind words. Interesting. It looks like they give you 2 washers to put on the pedals before you. That's kind of interesting. I've never seen that before. So they give you 2 washers, and in these instructions, they tell you to put them on. But it almost looks like, let's see here. Normally, I don't need to look at instructions for installing pedals. Mounting pedals to crank arms. The washer could help better protect contact while installing the pedal to the crank arms. I guess I'm not too terribly concerned about that, but I will put them on. These are Welgo folding pedals, and let's see. I'm just looking for the marking. This is the right pedal. So, and they did include, somewhere was a little wrench. I thought there was, at least. I saw one, a small wrench. If not, I will use my own here. Let's see. You want a 15 mil wrench? I think this is the one I just grabbed. Yeah. So the right pedal is going to go on, oh, forgot my washer. The right pedal is going to go on how you would expect. So righty tighty, lefty loosey. Matt, my local Ebike mechanic, always says that the pedal should turn the same way you, the direction of the bike. I think that's also a good way to remember it. And we got the 15 millimeter here. Go ahead and tighten those on. Obviously, these are, let's see. I think these are, it's actually hard to tell. I think they might be hard plastic. Yeah. But they are Welgo, so a brand I am familiar with. So now that other one's going to be reverse threaded. So again, I'm going to turn it towards the bike. Put the washer on here. And then we'll get to the fun stuff, taking a closer look at this bike. It's actually been quite a while since I've been able to do any filming, but I did do some filming today, and I think it was 20 some degrees, but the wind chill was very cold. I was kind of regretting my decision going out for a ride today. That was on the Rad Mini. All right, we have some zip ties here. I always like these side snips. Didn't have them last time, and I was missing them. So be careful so you don't cut any wires. And these are Irwin brand, but you can get these at Harbor Freight for a couple bucks, I think. So we got 20 by 4-inch tires. Maybe I'll move the screen down just a touch. All right. Again, folding here. Looks very familiar. Go ahead and, this didn't really lock in place. Yeah, that feels a little bit. Wonder if there's a clip on the other side. Or maybe. Looks like I might have to tighten this up a little bit. It doesn't want to quite click in. Never really had to adjust any of these out of the box. I think this tension on this needs to be adjusted, but take a look at that here in just a second. Get the rest of these off here. There's the Snapcycle branding. We got the handlebars tucked away nicely here. Let's see. Again, if you're just joining me, feel free to ask any questions about anything related to e-bikes. Maybe you're shopping for an electric bike. Happy to help any way I can. I thought I was going to be able to slide these off. I guess I'll have to cut it. One of the nice things, I mean, I talked a little bit about it already, but I really like some of these folding bikes because it seems like there's just the chance of damage goes down just a little bit when they come folded, and these handlebars were nice and protected, so I don't anticipate any issues. Alrighty, let's see. That's a bit of a stretch for these cables. Interesting. I guess you maybe have to put them in here first. Obviously, you're not going to have them. I mean, the minimum insertion is quite a bit smaller, so. Just trying to line this up. There we go. There's the minimum insertion point. And yeah, I wish I shouldn't have clipped this because I think there needs to be some adjustments the way this is going to snap back into place. So there's this little latch here that I'm kind of looking at. Might have to try to access it on the other side. Not sure if I'll have anything to get back there. There we go. Okay, so now, oh, there we go. I just think I didn't have it, I didn't put it all the way in. There we go. Oh, good. All right. So like I said, I mean, there's not a whole lot to assemble here, and that's really nice. One thing that I'm just noticing here on this bike, you always want to be careful with these derailleur guards because sometimes in packaging, and I'm not sure if it's the case with this one, it looks like it might be, but sometimes with packaging, these derailleur guards can get caught or get bent rather into the derailleur, and then if you have shifting issues, sometimes it's just a matter of bending this back. Obviously, want to be careful. Let's see if I can. Seems like a very sturdy derailleur guard. Some of them bend a lot easier than others. Actually, what I might do is see if I can get the derailleur out of the way a little bit. Gives me some more room to get in here. There we go. I think that's probably going to be enough. Shimano Tourney derailleur here. And what is interesting is they have marks on here for the bolt, like a little line there. Now, that's something I've only ever seen when I reviewed the Serial 1 electric bikes by Harley Davidson. And I think it's a motorcycle thing. So you know if any of these bolts end up loosening up. So it's kind of a safety thing, I guess, more so in the motorcycle industry. But there's a red line here. So in theory, if this were to loosen up and you're doing your pre-ride safety check, you would know that that bolt had moved. And obviously, this is a very important bolt because, it's holding your rear wheel on. So, and that's on both sides and on the front. This is not a quick release here in the front. This is just a bolt-on front axle, CST 20 by 4-inch tires. Got these plastic fenders, nothing special here. Front and rear doesn't go all the way back on the rear here, something to keep in mind. Really like that they include this nice rack, feels very sturdy. It's pretty wide. Pannier hangers here. And it doesn't appear that they include a rear light. They include a front light. I'll try to turn that on here in just a second. Nice gray paint job. Once I had the pedals installed, I didn't turn them, but that's how they would go when they are folded. You have some external cable routing here at the bottom of the frame. And of course, that's because the the battery is actually inside of the frame here. So that's something to keep in mind. You do have a front lockout here. You can test out the suspension here to give you an idea of what to expect. Of course, all these things I will talk about more in depth, and actually I'd probably lower these handlebars quite a bit. Like the wrapping here, that's a pretty nice job, looks pretty good. Front suspension feels about what I'd expect. Do have a right hand twist grip throttle, Shimano thumb shifter here. Go ahead and tilt the camera up a little bit. So Shimano thumb shifter and just rubberized grips. Unbranded brake levers, motor cutoffs. Got the screen protector here. I think a different display. I've not seen this display before on an electric bike. I'll try to go ahead and power it on. Of course, the bike might not be turned on. And let's see, there's a class 2 sticker here, so that's kind of interesting. I'm just looking, there are keys here. Usually that means you have to turn the battery on, and thinking there's a keyhole there. Go ahead and try to turn that. Okay, I think it's underneath here. I think I saw it. Okay, so I did turn that to the right. Let's see if that works. There we go, bike turned on. All right, just a very simple display. Let's go ahead and see if we can turn that front light on. There's that front light. Usually these front lights are pretty good for being seen. I always recommend external lights. And it almost looks like they have a quick release up here on the handlebars. So if you wanted to, it almost looks like you can detach the handlebars, which is very interesting. So you have the ability to kind of go down with it sideways and then potentially even remove those handlebars. So that's pretty interesting. Let's see, maybe I'll can try unfolding it here. Double walled chain ring here. I can stand over, get the seat about where I would want it. I'm 6 feet tall, if that helps at all. A little bit of a high step, I would say. I'm definitely going to be able to get full leg extension here. Could probably go up a little bit higher with that saddle. And let's see. Let's look at the brakes here. I do not see a brand on these. 180 millimeter rotors. And we got the motor cable coming in on the right side. Big beefy kickstand here. And we got a stand for the bike to rest on. I'll go ahead and fold the bike so you can get an idea of how that works. Now, if this is indeed a class 3 bike that you can adjust to go to 20 miles per hour, that's definitely going to set it apart to some other ones in the market. So I think if I move that down and then maybe this has to come up. Slightly different folding mechanism here than I've seen before. There we go. I lifted that up. That was okay. There we go. And then I was able to. So it looks like there's a latch here, and then you have to move that. And then you probably with practice get a little bit better at folding an electric bike like this. But what I like to do is kind of brace it with my knee, and that kind of helps start folding the bike. And actually, maybe what I should have done is started with the handlebars here. See if I can do that quick. There we go. And then, like I said, I think you can remove those handlebars as well. That's kind of something I haven't seen before. And then these are heavy bikes, so sometimes this can be a bit awkward. Sometimes nice to have someone help you. But you can rest it on the stand then. And there you go. Now, on some of these bikes, I've noticed that they have kind of rubber protectors where the frame hits the bike, the other side of the bike. So, down here where the fork hits the back of the rack or back of the frame here, with a spot where these handlebars might hit. So that's something you might want to just consider doing if you want to keep your bike looking nice and new. I was going to see, it looks like there's a handle here. I do want to make sure, let's see, that's going to be all the way to the right. So probably all the way to the left, and take the key out. And that should allow me to remove the battery. Yep, there we go. All right, there's the battery. So this is a 48 volt, 14 amp hour battery. Now 14 amp hours, I would say, is about average. You'll definitely find smaller batteries out there, but yeah, looks pretty nice, integrated into the frame. And so you can remove this and make the bike a little bit lighter, of course. Like the handle, that makes it a little bit nicer. And I'm pretty sure these keys are locking it in there as well, but don't quote me on that. It's a little tricky to find the spot down here for the key. All right. Oh yeah, I can definitely see the locking pin on this side where it's coming through the frame to prevent it from the battery from coming out. So that's the Snapcycle S1. Kind of like this gray paint job, looks pretty nice. Let's go ahead and fold it back together. I'll go on the other side actually. And again, happy to answer anything. We'll probably be wrapping this up pretty shortly. Again, not a bike that you will have to do a lot as far as attaching the front wheel, but something to keep in mind, just because it comes, almost nearly fully assembled doesn't mean it's not going to need some adjustments. So you might want to take it to a bike shop and you probably want to check the torque and make sure you have the bike all dialed in. Check the derailleur. Brakes feel pretty decent. They might need to be adjusted. Not hearing any squeaking now, but to take it on a ride first. So yeah, overall, I think first impression seems pretty good for the price. At least fitting into the market with the specs. I think it's a 750 watt nominal. Not sure what it peaks at, or if they share that on the website. I think it looks pretty slick. Yeah, I'm excited to check it out. You can see we have some kind of reflective branding here. And I think that's all I have to say about it. I'll check the comments here. How much is this bike? This bike is $14.99. Actually, maybe what I'll do is I'll make sure there's nothing I missed. So there is a link in the description again. So they sell 3 models. They sell the S1, which is this one, and they sell the Snapcycle R1, which is their full-size fat tire e-bike, and then they sell the Snapcycle R1 step-through electric bike. And all of the models, let's see, Snapcycle S1 is $14.99, as I mentioned. The R1 is $16.99, so a little bit more expensive. They do say that this is a 750 watt nominal, 1200 watt peak, so we'll definitely be putting that to the test just to see how powerful it is. They say they're using Samsung cells in that battery that I just showed you. I really like that it has a half twist grip throttle. That's what I prefer over the thumb shifters. And I'm trying to think. They say riders 5'3" to 6'4". It weighs 66 pounds and 48 volt, 25 amp controller, 3 amp charger, which is nice. And they do not sell a step through in this model. Shimano for the derailleur as well as the shifter. 14 to 28 tooth cassette in the rear. That's what they list here. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Is it allowed to ride on the sidewalks on this bike? Depending on where you live, it should be allowed to ride on sidewalks. I guess make sure you look at your local laws and regulations, but it does come apparently shipped as a class 2 electric bike. And then it does look like maybe you can override it. I will dig into that a little bit further in my full review. We'll try to get that done when we can. You're welcome. Thanks for joining me. All right, I will give it 30 more seconds. If you have anything about this electric bike, about any other electric bikes that I review, we have a bunch of videos that are currently in the works being edited. So those will be out over the coming weeks. And I think that's pretty much it. Juan says hi and thanks. If you could only own but one e-bike under $2,000, what would it be? The Radwagon 4. That is kind of the e-bike that started it all. We bought a 2018 Radwagon and we put over 4,000 miles on that. And my wife and I used to ride it around, the two of us both on the same bike before we have kids. And now we throw the kiddos on the back. And if we could only own one, that would have to be it. I think, the prices gone up on that bike. I kind of used to think that it was just such a value. When you look at all the rad power bikes, you might as well buy that one because it's way more versatile, obviously very heavy and long. And there are some downsides. Night Razor says, I like how easy the unpacking was. Thank you. And you don't have to install the brakes. I would say generally you don't have to install the brakes, but you do usually have to install the handlebars to the stem, and you usually have to install the front wheel. And those things can be annoying if you're not familiar with e-bikes. So this is definitely one I would say is on the easier side. Again, some of those other folding electric bikes, also very easy. And then one of the nice things is you can potentially, put it together how I just did and then bring it to your local bike shop and have them check it over. And it's not going to cost as much as a full assembly. They can look at the derailleur, look at the brakes, make sure they're aligned properly. And if you don't feel comfortable, just kind of checking all the important bolts around the bike. You can check out some of the other assembly videos I've done, even if you're not purchasing that specific electric bike. We just posted the Propella 7S assembly by Professional Bike Mechanics. So there's some good tips there. New here, love your content. Thank you, Lance. Thanks for joining me. It would be a great idea if you cover it in your video review later. Yes. So I like to cover everything that you might want to know before you purchase any electric bike. So I will do my best. And obviously with them including a class 3 e-bike sticker, I'm assuming that it is capable of reaching those speeds, again, 1200 watts. So we will probably override this bike and test it out, see how it goes. Is it true that the Rad City 5 Plus has a noisy rear motor? I guess personally, I wouldn't say it's any noisier than other geared hub motors. I've personally never really been concerned about sound with any of the electric bikes that we've ridden. Some people, when they bring that up, it's not something that I even pay a whole lot of attention to. When I do my filming, I do put the camera really close in the third person riding footage to try to share some of the noise. But I mean, with like a motor like this, and I can turn it on here quickly. It's probably going to be a little bit difficult to hear the sound, but I mean, they're e-bikes, they have motors, and they make noise. So obviously no resistance, but I mean, you can hear it. So yeah, I don't know about the Rad City 5. I would say it's probably the same as their other e-bikes, I guess. How do you like the fenders? These are plastic fenders. I would say they're nothing special. They feel pretty flimsy. I like the ones that cover a little bit more. I think they look fine. They probably look nicer than they actually are, but they don't go towards the front, and you can see that it's not going super low on this front tire here. And again, on the rear tire, it stops right here where my hand is. so it's not coming all the way to the rear of the wheel that you sometimes see. So maybe something they can improve upon. But again, for the price, I mean, $14.99 is a pretty good price, and you're seeing a lot of companies raise prices. So it's a little bit tricky now with all these companies changing prices. Night Razor says, any bike lock you recommend? Yeah. So I did a video on, I did interview someone from Kryptonite. We did a bunch of videos. If you look in the feed, there's some good information if you really want to go into detail on locks. But my general advice is I really like the name brands, Abus, Kryptonite. Let's see, what other, there's another brand that CD Lock is another brand that I've reviewed their locks. It depends on your security, of course. We've been really liking recently, for a little bit more security and ease of use, the Kryptonite chain lock that is a combination. Now, using the combination lock decreases the security. I think it's only a 6 out of 10, where I think their other chains are 9 out of 10. And then you can go all the way up to the Kryptonite NYC lock. That's a 10 out of 10. But for our area, we live in an area where bike theft really isn't a problem. If you want something a little bit more compact, I highly recommend the folding locks. I was just looking to see if there is any mounting points on this bike, but some locks like the Abus Bordeaux 6000 alarm, we use that lock a lot. It's pretty expensive, but it does have alarm built in. You can buy external alarms. I've done a video on that as well. But some of those folding locks can be a happy medium, giving you a little bit more security depending on where you live, and compact, and hopefully you have a spot to mount it on your electric bike. They do sell like mounting kits, or you can basically buy an accessory that allows you to put a bottle cage wherever. So perhaps you might be able to put it on the rear rack of this bike. So those are the brands that I kind of recommend. And for instance, like Kryptonite has a security rating, and so does Abus, and you can kind of gauge where you'd want to be at. But the chain locks are obviously a lot heavier, but if we're going to the gym or something, we'll just throw it in our backpack. Hip Lock is another name brand, HIPLOK. I've taken their locks with me and wear it around my waist. It sounds kind of weird, but for taking a higher security lock, it actually works pretty well. So hopefully that helps. Thank you. It looks a bit small though. Yeah, I would say it's comparable to other folding electric bikes as far as size, but definitely a shorter wheelbase. I think if you look at their specifications on their website, you can look at the wheelbase. Your position on Tannis armor and flat out sealant for new e-bike to avoid flats. Okay, so I guess I am technically a Tannis ambassador. So I reached out to the company, let's see, like last year, and they sent me a t-shirt and some liners to test out. And I spoke with them at Sea Otter. So we don't live in an area where flats are a big issue. I mean, we have not had a flat on either e-bike where we have had Tannis liners installed. In fact, the liners that we had installed were on our dual motor electric bike, and we recently had a flat, and I was very interested in why we got a flat on that specific bike, and it turned out that the valve stem actually failed. So it had nothing to do with the Tannis liners. So I think in my opinion, what is the best solution is get the Tannis liners and then also get sealant. You mentioned flat out. I mean, Bolton e-bikes did a video, and I think it's pretty obvious that the flat out performed very well. And so I'd recommend that. I think others are probably fine as well. But if you live in an area where there's goat heads, I would 100% have both sealant and Tannis liners. For instance, on a bike really any rear hub e-bike, you have that bolt-on rear skewer. So it's going to be very challenging to change a flat. It can be done, but you need to bring a wrench, and then you probably need to get some handlebar jacks. So when you flip your bike upside down to make it easier to take out the wheel, just going to be a process. And especially on this bike, it doesn't have a front quick release skewer. Otherwise it wouldn't be a big deal to pop out the front wheel, but a little bit extra step with this bike. So hopefully that helps. I'm a big fan of tennis liners, though we do not live in an area. Um, that's not to say I can't run over road debris, right? So that's certainly a risk as well. Hip block, yep. Um, would you say this bike was a cinch to put together? Yes, I would say it's very easy to put together. There's another folding e-bike that looks pretty similar to this, the Aventon Cinch. Question: are you willing to spend $500 more than an XP for more power and range? I think it's going to depend. Peter's talking about the electric XP, um, which I'm also a huge fan of. Uh, Spent a lot of time on that bike. We took it on vacation with us. So I think it depends on what you're looking for. Assuming this goes 28 miles per hour, if you want the extra speed, I mean, $500 is a bit much to spend. I think the electric XP ticks a lot of boxes for the price. But again, you get a more powerful motor and you get a bigger battery on this. Electric, of course, only sells one model. So, and electric obviously has had a lot of success. So I think that needs to be weighed in if you're comparing it to, for instance, a bike like this. But assuming that this motor performs better and with the larger battery, I think if you're planning on doing longer rides or using a lot of throttle, I think why wouldn't you want more battery? Another thing that a lot of people have brought up, particularly with the electric XP, is you can buy the bike for $999, and it was on a great sale for Black Friday. I think they have a bundle up. If you check out our electric bike discounts code page, if they're still having the deal, there's a link to their bundle up promotion. But what a lot of people do is they buy that bike for $1,000, and then if they want additional range, they just buy a battery. I want to say the battery is $299, maybe $399. So something to keep in mind. So yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, if you're just looking for an e-bike and you're someone new to e-bikes and you don't plan to do a lot of riding, I think the electric XP is a fantastic choice. You're investing a little bit less into that purchase, but if you plan to ride a lot and go on longer rides, sometimes we'll go on longer rides. It's always nice too, if you go on shorter rides, sometimes you don't have to worry about your charging your battery up after every ride. So some things to keep in mind. Oh, how long did the shipment take? That's a good question. I would have to look it up. I don't want to give you an answer here. Usually, I want to say it maybe took like a week and a half. Again, they sent me this bike. I remember them sending me a tracking number, and it seemed like it took just as long as any other e-bike company. Okay, I think that's all the questions. I'll give it a few more seconds in case there's any more follow-ups. Really nice to have a lot of interaction. That's why I do these videos, just to have an opportunity. Again, if you send me an email or do a YouTube comment, can't always get back to you nearly as quickly as I potentially could here. Speaking about the electric XP, any pros, cons from you as an expert? I mean, I think the battery size is not necessarily a con, but more something to keep in mind. And actually, that bike is very powerful for being $1,000. It's one of the best value e-bikes on the market. I would also put in the Aerial Rider Radial into that category. I'm trying to think of downsides. I think some people don't prefer, and these handlebars are very similar to the electric XP. Some people don't prefer these straight handlebars. I personally think they're fine. I do like that the electric XP comes in a step through. Always like the accessibility. I actually think the step through on the electric XP looks better than the high step, if you will. I don't think there's any downsides. That bike comes with a rear rack, metal fenders, looks really sharp, powerful. You can watch our full review on that. And I also did an accessories video. If you, for instance, are looking at their bundle up package, which I'm not sure if it includes the rear racks or not. So, all right. Thanks, Vladimir. Appreciate the kind words. All right. With that, I think we're going to wrap it up. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Again, links in the description if you want to help support the channel. Really appreciate it. More e-bike reviews coming as soon as we can with the cold weather. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.